You're listening to the GeekCast Radio Network of podcasts.
Cliff Jumper, commence countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Now, ToyCast. Oh, yes. Listen in to the only toy podcast you will ever need.
You are listening to All Things Transformers. Maximals, maximize.
I got better things to do tonight than die.
Join us as ToyCast heads down the low road to join All Things Transformers as we present to you the TFCon Toronto 10th Anniversary Post-Show. I am, of course, TFG and Mike, and joining me is Steve Megatron. Hello.
Hello.
And, of course, the goddamn Proto-Man. Hello.
Yo! How you doing?
So, we were originally going to do this on Monday night, but Proto-Man
was wiped out.
Essentially had his ass handed to him, yeah. Running a convention is hard work, people.
I'll get into why that is, actually.
Yes, I remember seeing you running around like crazy after your panel on that Saturday, so...
So in the pre-show, in episode 93 of ToyCast, we essentially had Proto-Man run down what the overall events were and schedule of the convention. In this, we're going to have him run down each of the days as far as what happened on each day. When we get to Saturday, I'm going to let Steve go first to give his perspective because he went for the Saturday. All right, so Friday, what happened on Friday? What kind of shenanigans did you guys get into on Friday?
Well, first off, we had a humongous turnout for pre-registration because that's essentially Friday is registration pickup for your exclusives and stuff. And we are proud to say that we were able to service 450 people, give them their exclusives, their comic book, and everything in 30 minutes.
Take that, BotCon!
Yeah, that was... And, it's funny, too, because we were almost joking about it, because it was like, people would come, and it's like, okay, we need one Shafter, one Garrison. We were, throwing stuff around. We almost had, a chain system, and it was flawless, and it was perfect, and we were very proud of that. It was very well done. That was, it was essentially the Fridays for also the dealers to set up and stuff. But then there's the ceremony stuff. We had the opening ceremony. Colin, who's our head of staff, he gave the opening ceremony, and he pretty much posted a little video, which was all the guests that couldn't be there that evening that were previous guests in TFCon's history. They made a little video saying, congratulations for your 10th anniversary, and that had Greg Berger, and it had Dan Gilbazin, Gary Chalk, David Kay, it had Michael Bell. It had Michael McConaughey. I'm just going off of the top of my... There was a lot, though. There was a lot. Also, Eric Bauza, who's known for Destro from
yeah, but that doesn't count a Transformers convention.
Because Eric actually came with David Kay.
Right.
Because they were touring together, and then it was like, hey, the 80s Expo's on the Sunday. So
right.
If you want, it kind of worked out in the end. But it's just, he was also, as a thank you, which was nice of him. And Eric also worked with Derek Wyatt in the past because Eric Bauza is Stimpy from Ren and Stimpy. So a lot of people don't know that. So they worked in the past together too. And so, anyways, it's a long story. But it was cool because you had those videos, and there was also just little clips here and there of the past from TFCon and how it got started and everything. Just nice little opening ceremony to celebrate the 10th anniversary. And then it opened up to all the random, and the thing is, Friday usually we open it up to what we call as fan panels, which is these are panels that are usually not run by staff but by fans. So we had the trivia contest that was ran by General Techno and Goober, And that was an experience to be had, let me tell you, because those are two very,
Yeah.
to put it lightly, personalities, especially Goober. So, I
I
mean, I
would go
didn't
the
see
other way, especially techno.
No,
I
Goober was much more crazy, believe me.
yeah, but you met Goober and he's a cool guy.
Oh, yeah.
Like the thing about Goober is that like he is literally energy incarnate. Like he is literally the living embodiment of energy itself. But he's so fun. And I used to live next door to him. Imagine. So like you can imagine, like this guy he's super fun and he made the trivia really fun and everything. After that and this was a really interesting one. It was the fan media panel, which was run by evangelist Chris Ho and PA Benjamin Dole, and they talked about how they make videos and stuff. And what was really interesting about that was seeing the stark differences between how Vangelis makes videos and how PA makes videos. And PA literally showed how simple his process is. He literally just takes his iPhone, has a tripod, records his video, and then he has a program that he downloaded, an app in his iPhone that quickly edits the video, and then he uploads it from his iPhone. He literally does little to no editing, and just
Yeah.
and then he goes, but then look at his success, So
No, yeah, no. I mean, yeah, I had been watching him since 2008. That's when I first found out about him. Was when I found out about the Shattered Glass set from BotCon in '08, and I wanted to see the toys. And yeah, he's come a long way, but at the same time, his editing process is just so simple. Record the video,
yeah,
slap some
and
titles on it, and put it up.
that's just it. And he was kind of showing like how where Evangelist he does a ton of B footage, a ton of this, a ton of that. Scan around shots, edit this. He uses Final Cut Pro. Like Evangelist showed his complex process, and PA showed his process and how simple it is. And essentially, what they were trying to get across is it doesn't matter how complicated you do it or how simple you do it, is as long as you get the facts and the information across, and you have a little bit of personality to you, where you're not just like
Yeah.
that's what leads to success. And it was a very interesting panel, especially for someone like me who does video reviews. It's always nice to see how they choose to do it, as opposed to like me. I'm kind of a mix of both. I like to do things in one shot, but do a little bit of editing here and there and do B footage. But so it was nice to see what they do and how it's different from mine. I'm pretty sure a lot of people in the audience who either wanted to get into doing that or was just curious how it works. It was pretty cool. After that was the customizing tutorial, which was ran by Nemesis Predaking, and that's just it's the exact same thing like just before, but now it's for customizers. So all the little tricks, how to get a good like people who usually they buy paint in the store and they paint a figure. How come it doesn't look as nice as some people on the websites? So they pretty much talked about how you could buy spray guns or you could buy cans of spray that get the image of a spray gun using gloss because they're Transformer toys. They rub against each other. How you could use a finish on it. It was all again more educational stuff just for people who want to get into that. Then it was my panel, which was the Challenge of Convoy panel. And I was offering up what it was is I brought as I said in the last podcast, I brought the Mystery of Convoy game for the Nintendo, which is ridiculously difficult. And as prizes, we had that two. I pretty much I changed it because I wanted to give away as much as possible. I had it that if whoever gets the furthest in the game, the first and second place, if you will, the first person who got the furthest and second place who got the furthest, I'm going to be giving away one of 500 made of the BTS Asia Workaholic Constructicon exclusives, which are like these Constructicon drones that turn into tape cassettes. They have weapons that work with Devastator. It was this little set that was made that's really cool. And then I had it that if anyone gets to level 3, they get the grand prize, which is a 1 of 5 made exclusively for this event. BTS cassettes of Rat Bat and Rumble, but done in a plastic that when you put it in the sun, they change colors. It was a nice little twisted third-party thing that was made just for this panel by BTS, and that was really cool of them to do that for us.
Yeah. Now,
And
does Rumble change from red to blue or blue to red?
he actually turns from yellow to blue. I know.
Ah, that's a
It would have been.
cheat.
I know that would have been awesome, but that's kind of how the plastic works, and it's the same thing. Like Rat Bat turns from yellow to purple, so
Oh.
it was kind of cool though. But what was amazing about it was such a social experiment. Like I didn't really know what was going to happen when I did this, but how it turned out was people really aren't good at video games. And Vangelis, he recorded a lot of footage of this because it was hilarious. Because it was just funny seeing people struggle. Because video games today are so simple. They have tutorials, and there's almost no consequence for dying in video games today. Where these old Nintendo games, 3 lives and that's it, back to the beginning. Yeah.
Mm.
So it was really fun watching people, like, especially there was like little kids who were like, they were almost like talking trash, like, oh, this is too easy, it's for babies. And then they get their butt handed to them, and it was just hilarious stuff. But that was a really good panel. And amazingly, 2 people beat the first level. That was a big surprise for me. And Goober was actually second place in that. So he really showed his colors, to use the term lightly. After that was just party at the bar, like always. And then usually what we call it the elite group of people. We usually have a party like at 4 a.m. in our room. And Scott McNeil crashed our room, and we couldn't get rid of him until 6 a.m. So
Nice.
Hey.
pretty much he was looking for free booze, but that was it.
Well, of
So-
course. A drunk rat trap isn't any other rat trap. So.
And what's hilarious too is that same night, Scott McNeil was smoking cigars outside with a whole bunch of people, and then usually outside the hotel there's these actual rat traps that are out there. Like the ones that are against the wall that a rat would go into.
Yeah.
So for some odd reason, Scott McNeil, now drunk and a cigar in his mouth, someone convinced him to sign a rat trap.
Oh my God.
So he actually went up to a rat trap and signed it. And now, if you go to the Hyatt Hotel and find the rat trap next to the entrance of the hotel, you're gonna see Scott McNeil's signature on there. I'm pretty sure one of the workers are gonna be like, "What the hell is that?" Yeah. But that was the Friday in a nutshell. It's condensed very quickly by me, but trust me, if you were there, it felt
I mean, you have to be there. I mean, if you went through, because I think it was last year or the year before, I forget which year it was that we did this. When you went through one of the post shows, you went through. I think it was last year with oh God, what's his name? With Wendell.
Yeah, Wendell. Yeah.
Yeah, the two of you went through it like it was nothing, but it was like every single step of the way.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, this is just like a little preview, kind of like post show of what kind of experiences you can have at TFCon, and for the first time ever, Steve got to go on these Saturdays. So, tell us about your journey to TFCon.
It was almost a long drive. Yeah, I got up at like I don't know, it was like 3 or 3:30 in the morning, and headed out to Mississauga, and of course I get there probably about 9:15. Get in and everything. Start kind of exploring around, walking around the different rooms. I bumped into you, Proto Man, which was the first person from online that I met up with. Sat and watched your panel of the history of Cybertron,
And that panel, by the way, was that was an exclusive panel thanks to Aaron Archer and Eric Siebeneller. There was some exclusive images and footage which were never shown publicly outside of BotCon 2010, and then there was some new stuff that was exclusive to TFCon that was being revealed there, and it was actually a closed panel where no pictures or video was allowed, where we revealed 2 extra characters of the original 13.
Yeah, so that was very, very interesting and enlightening. So after that panel, I hung around there and waited for the Q&A with Bob Budiansky, and that was quite interesting. He had a lot of stuff up on the slides, like, and I took pictures of everything and posted it on my Facebook, but it was interesting to see the different formations of names of, Megatron almost wasn't Megatron, and you know,
Starscream was Ulktar.
yeah, I mean there were so many different variations as far as that's concerned, and it was very interesting. And then I think his panel ran a little bit shorter than, of course, Scott's or Neil and Wally's, but that's just because I think people kind of ran out of ideas what to ask him.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that was very cool listening to him talk about all of the work on the comics, and then the mythos work and all that. So then after that, I went downstairs, waited in line for his autograph, and so I missed the charity auction. Ended up bumping into General Techno, Chris, and Gabe. So that was pretty cool. And then so I kind of hung around.
That was the Bob and Derek Wyatt autograph, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I was there too.
Yeah, you were down there by Derek. I almost went over there for his autograph, except I was trying to run back up because by the time I got through the Bob autograph line,
Scott's panel was starting. Yeah.
Scott's panel had like 5 minutes before it started, and so I bolted upstairs, and I somehow managed to get front row seats every single time a panel was starting. I don't know how that is. I actually got my phone out and I recorded the entire Scott panel. However, I must have hit something on my phone because it only captured 9 minutes out of the 48. I was quite sad. It was such good quality too. But yeah, Scott's panel was hilarious.
Yeah, Steve was telling me off air about, and I have seen so many of Scott's panels, whether it's TFCon or whether it's other conventions, but every single convention that guy goes to, at least one person brings him a bag of food.
Only this time it was Waspinator.
Yes, I thought that was hilarious.
Which was hilarious, and then he's like, "Ooh, brownie," and then he just starts eating right there, and he's like, "Oh, I got 80 OS attention deficit. Ooh, shiny." And his whole panel was just hilarious. And then as soon as that was over, I think I like barreled through everybody to bolt downstairs because I knew the line was going to be long.
Oh yeah, his autograph for sure.
And I got down there and I'm like, oh, I'm closer than I was for Bob's line. And I was like, this shouldn't be long at all. And then I ended up doing a live on location with Mike at the time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, it shouldn't take very long. Yeah, I was there in line for about 2.5 hours before I finally got to Scott.
He talks to everybody.
And I realized that the longer I was in line, so it was quite interesting to say the least. When by the time I finally got up there, I ended up bumping into the owner of Iacon Hub.
Cool.
He happened to be next to me in line. But then when I got up there for Scott, I of course got his autograph, and then got a picture with him and chatted with him, and then of course said, "Hey, you're so insanely difficult to get a hold of, and for podcast interviews." And he says, "Oh yeah, blah blah blah." And then I gave him some contact info, and I said, "Yeah, we've talked to all your friends." And then he says, "Sorry for being a douche." And I was like, "No, that's all right." And so yeah, and then I had some stuff that Gabe had put together for the
Dark Glass project.
The fan Dark Glass video, and I showed it to Scott, and he's like, "Wow, those are great." He says, "What's that?" And I said, "The Dark Glass video." I said, "A bunch of us are putting together this video," and he's like, "So who's playing me?" And I told him, I said, "Oh, Daniel Ross," and he says, "I'm gonna get him next time I see him." Like it was hilarious how that whole thing just played out, and then so yeah, right after that was done, I managed to make it up there pretty much 5 minutes to the live script reading auditions. Unfortunately, I missed the panel with Neil Ross and Wally Burr, but they were at least in the live script reading, whereas Scott was still preoccupied for the foreseeable future.
Yes.
The live script reading was hilarious because Wally was nitpicking everybody.
Well, of course, it's Wally Burr.
What the interesting part is he started out, I think, with like Cheetor or Quick Strike or something like that. He started out with two of the Beast Wars characters first before he ever got there. There were 7 characters to be cast, and he's giving everybody like 8 to 10 different attempts or tries at these characters. So he pretty much ate up the entire audition round by critiquing everyone, and they eventually had to cut him off and told him, "You can't critique anybody else. We have to cast these people," because it was like 6:15, and
Oh yeah, he was definitely like, I remember even staff was like, "Oh my God, Wally's taking forever," because usually how it was in the past was the judge was the current voice actor that we had present, and usually with whatever staff member was with them at the time. In this case, it was Phil Gervais, also known as Decepticon Army, on the boards, But since we had Wally this year, we were just like, well, who better person to be the judge than a voice director who hires people, in that same position. But we didn't expect that he would do that process exactly as if it was a job interview, where it's like, do this line like this, do this line like that. Where in the past, it's just like the person gets the one shot at the line, maybe twice if they screw it up, and then thank you, next, and then we kind of decide on that. But it was like one person, and it was. Yeah.
Oh, I know, and he did it to everybody for that entire character. So it was hilarious to watch. I mean, some of it was very enlightening, hearing his experience and ideas of what could be thrown at you, voicing a character. So I really did enjoy that.
It really seemed like that's exactly what he would have done if this was a serious scenario, and it was because he was taking it very seriously. It was almost like he wasn't even joking about what he was doing. Like it was clearly like he was like as if this was an actual like audition for those characters.
Well, maybe next time you guys have him back, you should have TFCon go from Thursday to Sunday, and Thursday. Hold on. Thursday be check-in. Thursday be registration. Friday would be Wally Burr Day.
We are so like. Well, I'll get to that at the end.
Okay,
but
just
continue on, Steve.
But yeah, that was quite hilarious. And then finally, Decepticon Army had to tell him, "Okay, we gotta speed this up. You can't talk anymore." And and Neil's just sitting there like laughing and like poking fun at Wally and giving out helpful suggestions, and it was hilarious because people would still they were telling people, stay back from the mic, don't puff on the mic, don't talk extremely loud. People were just reading it, interpreting it whatever way they wanted, and weren't even taking into consideration anything Wally or Neil was saying. Like some people were, but most of them didn't, or they would forget by the next person. So I was just sitting there laughing my ass off. But then when they finally got to the script reading, then they of course had to obtain Scott from the bellows of the hotel, and then they went through that, and it was pulled off very, very nicely.
Yeah.
And then I stuck around for a little while for the Transformers the movie, and of course, through the live script reading, we were able to cast or actually recast a particular character for our Dark Glass video. Me and Gabe kind of headlined him and snagged him, so that was kind of cool too. And unfortunately, that was the end of my TFCon experience this year. However, I do plan on returning because it was I was so busy between panels that day. I didn't have a chance to eat at all. I literally ate at like 4 a.m.
Did you go to the dealer room at all?
No, I was in all those panels all day. I was in the panels
Okay.
all day. Like I was bouncing panel to panel to panel and autograph things, and I didn't get to eat
Steve's
till
not
8.
one to buy the toys. He's
Not
just
normally
you would probably go there to see if any cool Megatron, Beast Wars Megatron stuff would be there, but you're not someone that buys and collects.
I'm not a completist
Yeah.
by any means. I'm a more of a select type thing.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm not really at liberty to display them. So
Yes.
otherwise, I'm sure I would have more than what I do.
Yes.
But yeah, I next time I plan on hopefully being there the entire time and being able to check out everything. And but yeah, I was so busy that day running between stuff food was the last thing on my mind.
Well, when we did the live call-in, it's not in the live call-in, which is on YouTube, and I'll link to in the post here in the episode. But when we did the live call-in, after it was either before or after we finished it, I told him, I was like, dude, you're running between all these panels and autographs. You use your Megatron voice all the time. You use it at work, having arguments with Starscream. You should have used it to your advantage, running it back and forth between all these lines. I'm Megatron. Get the hell out of my way.
I actually did use my Megatron voice while we were sitting there before the live script reading auditions.
Yeah.
Which is why the one guy, when he went up there for Roadbuster, used Beast Wars Megatron.
Oh.
I don't know if that's the exact reason, but they were comparing their Megatrons, and I just couldn't listen to it anymore. I had to speak up, and I one-upped them. But yeah, that pretty much stopped that. But I was so parched too because I didn't have anything to drink that I just couldn't do the voice when I got up to
You gotta
Scott.
stay hydrated when you're doing that stuff.
That's one thing I'd recommend. If you're going, bring a backpack with water.
Mm-hmm.
Lots and lots of water and something to snack
We
on.
actually give water for free all over the hotel.
Yeah, I did notice that in the main hallway around the panel room, which I constantly hit up whenever I went by there. But when you're down in there for 2.5 hours waiting for an autograph, that's not exactly accessible. And I was like, do I want to get on a line and get water, or do I not? And I'm like, no, I've been waiting here too long. So, but yeah, that was pretty much my experience with TFCon. I loved it. I definitely would go back. I loved how fluent everything was. It seemed very, very streamlined. Definitely.
Oh yeah, we're obsessed with that. Because that was one thing that we learned from BotCon was that we try to have that you're not missing something if you're at something else. It's very rare. Or if you missed an autograph, you'll get another opportunity later.
Well, and I noticed that too, which was nice.
And the beautiful thing, at least with this year, as far as I can tell, in any time that especially Scott is at a convention, Scott is all over the place. I know you guys have designated times for autographs, but as you already said, you can walk outside and he's out there smoking a cigar.
All the guests. Wally Burr was at the bar constantly wearing Scott McNeil's hat for some reason. So, if you missed an autograph opportunity, I think the only one that, Neil Ross was around too, on the Saturday, but he was the least, present, if you will, in public. Yeah. But Scott and Wally, you couldn't get rid of them. They were all
Scott
over
was hilarious. When I was waiting in line for his autograph, and I'd been in line maybe 10 minutes, and obviously the line's not moving because he's not there yet, but he got down there with a backpack, and he just cuts in front of me, in front of the group in front of me, and he's like, hey, can I cut here, man? And then he started cutting in front of everybody, which somebody has on YouTube now. But I was talking to Mike at the time. I'm like, holy shit, dude. Scott just asked if he could jump in line ahead of the guys in front of me, and then just kept doing it. And then finally he gets close to the front, and somebody tells him no, and then he gets upset, and he walks away, throwing a tantrum, and then he goes over there to his seating arrangement. But that dude is a trip to go by through the entire convention.
I guarantee you, if we got him for an interview on Beast Unleashed podcast, our Beast Wars Beast Machine show, I guarantee you that would turn into our right now. Robert N. Skier is our longest interview ever at 2 hours, 1 minute. I guarantee you, if we got Scott for an interview, it would be 3 hours plus, guaranteed.
Well, and the funny thing about Scott is he's really passionate and loves Beast Wars.
Yeah.
He doesn't much care for Beast Machines, as he stated in his panel, but that was quite interesting. The one thing I find interesting is everybody asks all the voice actors about the Dark Glass video, or Dark Glass script, and none of them know anything because obviously it never made it past the script stage.
Yeah, it never made it past the script stage, and no one really knows what happened to it. I know 2 people that know actually 4. I know 4 people that know what happened to it, but it never made it past the script stage to being an episode, so it's lost to the times of Cybertron.
Well, till the fan version's ready. But anyways.
Well, you can't We'll talk about that
technically,
off air. We'll talk about that off air.
okay. Anyways, so yeah, that's pretty much my experience with it, and you can take it away, Proto Man.
Well, like the stuff that
What else happened on the Saturday as far as the convention side program?
there was the third-party product preview panel.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one thing I want to stress: Hasbro was at the convention. Even Steve could attest for this because it was right next to the panel room. They had a nice big table with all the latest toys and a lot of stuff that wasn't out yet.
Oh yeah, that was really cool. I went over there and hovered over there for a good 20 minutes.
So imagine, next to the panel room where the third product preview panel was happening, Hasbro was there with their two lovely representatives that they send every year and tons of new Transformers Prime and Creo and Bot Shots merchant, like the stuff that's not even out yet on shelves. So, and what was cool was at the end of the day, some of the stuff that it's like they would bring, like there's the new figure Optimus Maximus, where it's this Transformers Prime Optimus that also turns into a base. They had one in the box, and then they brought another one in the box that they opened. And at the end of the day, they gave it away to a fan.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, but they did that with a lot of items because they would always have stuff that was in the package, and then they would have the same thing in the package, but they'd open it up to have so you could mess with it. Which is one really cool thing that we have also over BotCon is that we have new toys on display, but you get to mess with those. You get to go up to Hasbro and go, hey, can I play with that Optimus? Can I play with that Jetfire? And I remember, it was a notorious story. At TFCon 2008, we got all the new Classics toys and the Generations toys. And there was the Ironhide one. And by the time we got to it on, the Saturday evening, someone broke the arm off. I don't know how. Someone, again... typical fans, just I can't transform this worst toy ever. But
Yes.
But it just it was really cool having Hasbro there and being super game. There were so many stupid rumors that people were spreading. Oh, Hasbro's coming down on TFCon now. No, they weren't. Look what they did. They showed up and they had just as much a great time.
The only thing that they did not do this year was an actual panel.
Right? Like I said, if they would have done that panel, it would have been just the SDCC panel that everyone already saw.
Right.
So it would have been nothing new. It would have been for that one guy who doesn't have the internet that didn't check TFW that weekend of SDCC. That's it. The whole point really for Hasbro to be there and why we used to do panels in the past was more so to talk about Canadian distribution. If there was because before, now we have Target coming, but in the past it's okay, this Target exclusive, is it going to find its way into Canadian distribution? And then they would tell us, yes, this Target exclusive will show up in Zellers, which is a chain that we have in Canada. That was kind of more so the point of the panel. But now that they have their table and both the representatives are there, you could just go up to them and ask them. But most people are too busy having fun with the toys anyway, so. They had masks, they had everything. It was so great. They were super chill as always and very supportive of what we do and always there. They were there both days, not just one day, both days, very present. Anyways, going into the third product preview panel, we revealed a lot of stuff. There was a lot of stuff that was front page news in this panel. Third party Predaking coming its way, Menasor. We showed the new designs for Hexatron, which is the third-party super crazy six-shot, which we also had in the glass display case. And then we showed the two repaints of it. They're going to do a Shadow Maru and Great Shot from Transformers Victory. We showed the biggest third-party toy to be made so far, Nova Lord, which is it's BTS's Overlord attempt. It's going to be 21 inches. It's going to have light and sound. It's huge. They sent us images and video of the transformation. Tons of stuff planned. Let's just say that a lot of people felt their wallet screaming when they were at that panel because there was. I mean, I'm just naming a few. There was tons more stuff that was revealed, but those were some of the big reveals that were there, and there's so much more to come. There was also the costume contest, which was hosted by Vangelis. And I believe the winner, and you could find video of her online. She's literally the grand champion of cosplay at TFCon, is a girl named Vanessa. In 2009,
she won as Black Arachnia.
No, in 2010 she was Black Arachnia.
Oh, okay.
In 2009 she was Bumblebee. She came as animated Bumblebee, and it was like a dead-on to show model Bumblebee. In 2010 she was Black Arachnia, and she was like a dead-on amazing Black Arachnia. And then in 2011, she did I'm trying to remember who she did in 2011. She did something else, but I know in 2012, yeah, it was 2011. In 2011, she was Optimus Prime, but she did like a very like thin, streamline Optimus Prime, not a very bulky one that usually, because she's a thin female, so her Optimus was a lot more thin, but it was very nice looking. And then this year was her magnum opus, because she wanted to do something with the 80s Expo and the Transformer. She did a transforming DeLorean.
Oh my!
I saw her.
Yeah, and what was crazy?
Doc Brown.
What was crazy about and she had a friend of hers cosplaying as Doc Brown to follow her around. What was crazy about that cosplay was not only it transforms perfectly. It goes from a DeLorean to you're walking around in the outfit. It transformed like an alternator toy, but she had lights in the headlights, which were her breasts, if you will, that lit up. And she had lights, LEDs, that were in the back of it, because the back of the DeLorean, it has the boosters.
Right.
So those were also, they lit up. And she has an extra bonus. When she's in car mode, the hood opens up, and it's where she stores her head, her actual head, and it's where her head gasket is, which is a funny joke there. So it was so, she obviously got first place. Like every year she kills, because she outdoes herself every year. Second place went to a guy who he actually made a Transformer cosplay based on the buses in Toronto, which to me, I don't know what those look like, but apparently it was really awesome the way he did it. There was also
the animated swoop from BotCon was there.
Yeah, the animated swoop from BotCon was there, which was done by Wayward. There was a family that had all these face paint of Prime characters. And what was ironic was the baby, and there was literally like a 3-month-old baby had face paint of Bumblebee on it, and his sucking sus had the Autobot logo on it in his mouth.
Oh, that's
which was
funny.
It was really cute, and like, just it was really nice to see those. And that was the costume contest. That was really cool. There was the art contest. Unfortunately, while I voted on it, I don't know who won. But I'll tell you who
I don't know who won the 2D, but I do know who won the 3D.
Who won the 3D? Because I voted for the Overlord.
It was the TFP Optimus 3D art. Shirley Chung.
Oh, okay. Her plushie there.
Yeah, her giant giant TFP Optimus. Yeah.
That got third place on mine. Okay, but I guess that accounts for something then.
Well, you're a staff member. You're not supposed to enter the art contest.
No. The staff are in charge of voting.
Oh, okay,
so
okay.
Each one of us goes, who do we think is first, second, third? And then we tally that up in a point system. Like if you got first place, you got 3 points.
Right,
If you got third place, you got 1. I put her as third on my... There was an Overlord there. Some guy took Universe 2.0 Silverbolt and completely re-engineered it to make it like a separating like Overlord. I don't know. That one was impressive to me on a design level. So that, I don't know. That was me personally, but then like we talked about the live script reading. There was the fan vote. Steve, did you stick around for the 86 movie at all?
I did stick around for, I think, the first half of it.
Okay. And that's always been a staple at TFCon. Every year we always make it like a thing to play the 86 movie on the big screen in the panel room. And I'm telling you, you have not seen Transformers the movie until you've sat with a good 100 other fans. And I'm telling you, like, if you would have been there for that opening of the Matrix scene, you just hear me, woo! Yeah, like I always go nuts. Like,
well, when I was in there, I was sitting in the back area because we were still discussing recasting, but we were sitting there quoting the movie word for word.
Oh yeah, and that's about, like I said, you have not seen the movie until you've sat down with a bunch of other fans and blaze through it. And it's an excuse every year to watch it and just to refresh your mind on that piece of history. and it's such a good movie. After that was the Faction Feud, which was hosted by me and Vangelis. And if there's any photos online of that, we both had quite elaborate costumes for that. Pretty much Vangelis informed me the weekend before the convention that he was going to have a cape with epaulets on it. And I was like, "Are you serious?" For those who aren't familiar with what epaulets are, they're kind of what a medieval king had back in the day with those little tassels. And
Right. Yeah.
anyways, he got a cape commissioned for him, and I was like, "Are you serious?" So he was like, "I want you to dress up too," and I'm like, "I don't cosplay. I don't do that kind of thing." And then I sat around, I was at work, and I was thinking about it. And I'm like, you know what? I bought, because I buy official merchandise of Mega Man stuff constantly. I have, when Mega Man 10 came out, they did this like cloth, like beautifully well done Proto Man helmet that, like, when you put it on, it looks like Proto Man's helmet. And it even has like Velcro shades that go over your eyes and everything. And then something that I've always owned my whole life, I own a yellow scarf that says Proto Man on it embossed, and I've always owned that. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to bring that. And let's just say we made a grand entrance as King Vangelis and Proto Man, and it was there's photos online, and it is ridiculous. I'm going to try to find one and send it to you guys, but it was just
I think I had seen that picture somewhere.
oh yeah, it's we're both posed and a million snapshots going off. And then it was back to the bar after. The winners, by the way, of the Faction Feud were a new team that came this year, a bunch of Americans that teamed up together called the Super Links. And they even had a costume, like they were all wearing the same shirt. And the shirt was actually making fun of BotCon. On the front of their shirt, it said because like Pete Sinclair, when he was always hyping up BotCon this year, he always put the hashtag for Twitter, best set ever. And of course, obviously, it was not the best set ever. So their shirt on the front said best set ever hashtag. And on the back of their shirt, it said stealing credit cards for 2 years now.
Oh,
And
Nice.
all four of them wore that shirt the entire duration of the Faction Feud. So they were an interesting bunch of Americans that came down to and they won. They kicked butt. They did a very good job. They beat last year's champions, the Furmanisms. So that was really cool. So props to John, and I'm trying to remember who the others were on his team, but props to them for doing a great job and winning, and they got prizes and stuff. After that was again back to the bar. Now here was the cool thing about the bar, starting at the beginning of the Saturday, was that the bar actually had custom-made Transformers-related drinks. All the bar waitresses had Autobot buttons on them and all kinds of stuff. There was Transformer related music playing at the bar. Like they just completely changed the bar for us. So like you could get the Waspinator, which was like vodka with this and that, and it was like a green drink. And then you could get what was called the Energon juice, which was a virgin Kool-Aid, meaning like it didn't have alcohol in it, but it was blue, you know? So that was for the people who weren't who didn't want to drink alcohol. There was still something for them too. Someone actually did took a photo of the bar menu, and it was like this. To a lot of people, it was a souvenir because it was this like hard stock menu, the TFCon drinking list, and it was from the bar, and it was crazy stuff. Like another cool thing that we had. And at the end of the Saturday, Derek Wyatt, Scott McNeil crashed our room. Tons of fun for everyone. We didn't go to sleep until 6 a.m. And I'll regret that because that's going to go into the Sunday and what happened. So I got to bed around 6 or 7.
Yeah.
I didn't have actually a panel officially until like at 1 o'clock I was doing signings with Derek Wyatt. So that was all. If I had any obligations, I had to be up at 1. Granted, I wanted to still be up early because the deal room was going to be the Sunday, which has a lot of crazy fun stuff in it because it's the 80s Expo. But at the same time, I was I was hoping to sleep until 9. I got a phone call on my cell because it was an emergency from Colin, and it was like to come down. And so I came downstairs, and I was in a daze. I was literally like completely out of it. Colin comes up to me. He's like, Jim Sorensen, who was supposed to be doing the Transformers Legacy panel at 11 o'clock, his plane got delayed.
Yeah, I remember
And
Jim saying something about that on Facebook.
yeah, and he's saying a blown Transformer. And I'm like, are you trolling? Like, are you serious? And I look at my watch, well, my cell phone, and I'm like, but his panel's in 15 minutes. He's like, I know. I need you to come up with one in 15 minutes. And I'm like, are you serious? I'm like half asleep and like my brain is like still in bed. And he's like, just do something. And so I'm like, okay. I had my my portable hard drive that I brought with me for my other panels with me. And luckily on it was all the panels that I've done in the past. And so half asleep with no material, I redid a good chunk of it, not all of it, the Transformers video game history panel. So for the people that missed it in 2010, they got a chance to, and amazingly, a lot of people didn't see it in 2010 because there was a lot of new people this year. So they got my half asleep. I literally didn't even walk around. I literally sat down like half asleep and go, okay, so Commodore 64 did it. And people liked it though because they were laughing and the footage was great. But it was just me like apologizing, going like, oh, I am so sorry. I am so tired. I did not expect to do a panel. Jim was supposed to be here. But it was great nonetheless. Then there was autographs. So I had to run and do that. It was Bob again and Derek. So we did the autograph session for a bit. While that was happening was a really, really good panel that unfortunately I missed, but I saw video footage of it and it was hilarious. Every year we do the How to Getting into Voice Acting.
Mm-hmm.
And last year was extremely informative, and in my opinion, still last year was the best if you really were serious into getting into voice acting, because Gary Chalk and Paul Eiding just gave information that, in my opinion, was crucial. This year, it was Scott McNeil, Neil Ross, and Wally Burr explaining how to get into voice acting. Unfortunately, you could censor me on this, but the shit hit the fan with them. They literally went crazy and started doing all kinds of wacky stuff. At one point, Scott McNeil was under the table while from the perspective of the audience, it looked like Neil Ross and Wally were bludgeoning him to death. And then at one point, Wally Burr steals Scott McNeil's hat and wears it for the duration of the panel, which then was followed by Neil Ross going, "Why are you wearing that? You don't know where that's been," And like it was like obviously there was still tough, like everyone told their story and how they got into it, so it makes it more human and people understand that there's a process to becoming a Scott McNeil, where he was just a guy. Like one of Scotty's first jobs was the Ruby Spears Mega Man series, which is what I love him for, his Proto Man depiction and Dr. Wily. That was one of his first jobs. And Scotty was like, Ruby Spears, in the spectrum of voice acting jobs that you would want to get, Ruby Spears to a lot of voice actors was kind of the bottom of the barrel. You wanted to get into WB, Hanna-Barbera, one of the bigger companies, where Ruby Spears was kind of this company that was just surviving, And then, oh, look, they had these 3 properties, Street Fighter, Darkstalkers, and Mega Man, that they recently got the licenses to, and they needed voices for all 3 of them. And so Scotty was lucky to snag voices on all 3 shows. Where he did Ken for Street Fighter, he did Proto Man and Dr. Wily for Mega Man, and he did Lord Raptor for Darkstalkers. But he was telling, like, when he first started, like, he just was hungry. He wanted to get anything he can, and don't be picky. Don't say I don't want to do that girl character, because that opens doors for you. Like, and it was him too. It was informed before, again, the shit hit the fan, and then everything went crazy. After that was again autograph session. Then there was the 80s costume contest, and these were amazing, these ones. For some odd reason, a couple who was dressed as Spike and Carly showed up on the Sunday, and they looked really good. There was a guy that came as the Incredible Hulk, but he had a bodysuit that I swear was like 8 feet high. And when people asked him how he was doing that, he actually took two footstools, and inside his costume they were like sewn and crazy glued to the feet. So he was actually standing on two 4-foot footstools, and that's how he was. And it was this humongous thing. Also, because the Legion 401 was there, which is the Star Wars cosplayers, they brought their remote control 1x1 scale droids of like R2D2, R242, and so they were constantly walking around. Like you would be walking around the convention, and you turn around, R2D2's following you, and you'd be like, "What the?" And you don't know where it's because you don't know who's controlling it. And so, like, it was funny because this guy, he had all these voices and sound effects. So apparently, him and Hulk had a scuffle, and then R2 was like, "What?" You know, like I don't know. It was a lot of like TFCon moments, if you will. And then you had Derek Wyatt doing the robot with Goober with the droids. So a whole bunch of funny stuff. Then there was a really awesome panel, and this was again one of those closed panels. And this was something that Derek Wyatt and me kind of threw together. It was, instead of doing a panel that's always let's talk about season 4 animated and all that, we talked about Derek getting into the business of TV show development, and just all the process of all the different stuff that he's done throughout the years, ripping Friends and Ren and Stimpy, Teen Titans, Ben 10, and of course he obviously did touch on animated. But what he did this time was he brought stuff from the Cartoon Network archive that were never supposed to leave the archive ever. And he said that, like, chances are you're going to be seeing this today, and then you will never see it ever again. And
Hope
no
somebody
film
took video of that.
you weren't allowed to record because he said the reason why he said he didn't want to show it was because he was embarrassed by it. A lot of it was crazy stuff. Pretty
what?
much. Well, I could talk about it, obviously. There was one footage that they shot, which was they were going to. It's kind of one of these like things where they go around the office interviewing everyone that worked on like that, Transformers animated Teen Titans. It's the same crew, and Derek was a part of that. And when they were interviewing people, each one of them would do something stupid. Some guy was in the bathroom taking a piss. Derek's playing with toys. And there were so many bloopers and very like funny stuff. And Derek was just like, I'm so embarrassed by all of this. And then on top of that, Derek also showed all the shows that he's worked on in the past. He actually made cameos in all of them in some shape or form. And he was showing how in Ben 10, all the Transformers and Mask-related cameos that no one caught. And the reason why he didn't want people filming was that if he openly admitted, yeah, hey, this character is directly based on Gurren Lagann or whatever, he runs that mild risk of getting sued. But if it's just hearsay from me right now or a fan, unless it comes from his mouth and you see the actual footage and point out that's that character, he's okay. But he showed like he actually based a character in Ben 10 off of Crasher from the GoBots, and even got the voice actress who played Crasher back in the 80s to come and do that character.
Oh, sweet.
So there was a lot, and again, I can't point out what that character was, but if you know Ben 10, maybe you know who I'm talking about with Arlene. But it's just he showed so much footage, so much stuff, colors and concepts that never happened, season 4 characters that were teased, which were palette swaps that never came, which was the mirror universe idea, because there was an episode that this was before Shattered Glass was invented. They were doing an idea of a mirror universe, and then what the mirror universe Autobots would look like in their colors, and it was just really interesting stuff. Megatron had like Ultra Magnus colors. Optimus was obviously like a purpley kind of thing. Bumblebee was like bug bite colors, which was also like a kind of white. They did, what was Prowl? I'm trying to remember what Prowl was. I remember that Bulkhead was Action Master Thundercracker, which is like those ugly like pinks, and it was. And again, these were the first time these character models were being shown. He was showing characters that were supposed to be in the show but got cut out because there was that kind of superhero theme going on with Transformers Animated. So there was one episode that was going to have a Batman-esque kind of character who was an African American. Again, it got cut from the show, but he wanted to put that in there. Yeah. he like even said like, in the mirror universe there was going to be a mirror universe. Oh my God, what's the name of the police officer?
Fan zone.
Fan Zone. There was going to be a
I
mirror
love
verse.
machines.
Yeah, he was like, I wanted to say that line, and he showed like, the designs for that, all kinds of things, all kinds of stuff that just a lot of it that just was never surfaced at all. And then he was getting into Teen Titans and he was showing that stuff and ripping Friends and uh, just what a great panel. And it's so sad too because his panel was literally the last hour before the deal room was closing. So a lot of people didn't catch it. Like it was still pretty packed, but at the same time, like a lot of people who like missed out on it, like were totally depressed about it afterwards when they heard what was actually in it. They showed like the development stages of Black Arachnia in anime, the development stages of Prowl, which that one was public, the Prowl one. But like, Black Arachnia at one point, she had her original Beast Wars colors, and she had a more Beast Wars-esque like design, like inspiration, and just so much stuff. And it was so great. That was such a good panel, and I'm honored that I was able to do that with him because I was kind of there to be next to him to also remember the homages and where they came from because he doesn't remember everything, but sadly somehow I do, even though he on it.
Well, you are obsessed. I mean,
Oh yeah, well that's just it. So I did the panel with him, and that was really cool, and it was an honor, and it was so awesome. And then it was funny because the second he finished that panel, we both scrapped. Like I pretty much brought him around the dealer room because he wanted to get all that crazy toys and stuff. And let me tell you something: the Sunday was amazing. The amount of stuff that was there was mind-boggling. Like it's just, I mean, I don't know if you'll ever get to talk to people like in the future, like on the podcast, like PR or something, but get like just to talk to other people who came this year, and they'll tell you the same thing. Like it was just unbelievable this year how packed the dealer room was. And the last thing I'll get to was just we had the convention organizers panel, which was the last thing we do at the end of the show,
right.
and because the show was so big that right now what we're thinking, we're not even sure if we're going to do we need a bigger location. Like and we got this location because it was a bigger location.
Yeah.
But it's just the show has got like it got ridiculous. The Sunday was nuts. The Sunday was just so much stuff, so many great deals, so many great prices. Like, you got to love the guys who show up with bins of junk, but that junk is gold, like it's just, and it's like quarters and $2 and so much stuff like, and 80s properties and 80s toy lines that you've like never heard of, but like you remember that one commercial of it back in like during Looney Tunes. It's like Snailians.
Yeah, stuff like Mad Balls and
like Barnyard Commandos and Body Wars and like the really obscure 90s and 80s toy lines that just no one remembers. Like I'm trying to remember what others I saw there. Pooch Patrol.
Yeah.
And like just really off the wall stuff, and it was so great. It was such a great, like I everyone was like anyone who was following Twitter that those like days after the show, everyone was saying the same thing. Jeremy Gogdog from the TFW podcast, who's gone to many BotCons, even ones that were in his backyard in Florida in 2010. And he even says it was the best Transformers convention he ever went to in his entire life. It was because it was so alive. It was so friendly. It's so tight-knit. There's, when you go to BotCon, I don't know if either of you have ever been to a BotCon, but
no,
BotCon
I haven't.
is very segregated. It's
and see, that's the thing. It's
that's what I hear about it, though, too.
Well, part of the thing, as you're kind of wrapping up what happened at TFCon 2012, the 10th anniversary, one of the things I wanted to get into before we wrap the podcast up is that, I love Optibotimus to death, but I got to throw him under the bus. Throughout the entire weekend of TFCon, he's making remarks. He wasn't like, saying, he wasn't like saying you guys sucked, but he was saying like, oh, well, that's the TFW meetup and this, that, and everything. I'm like, dude, no, it's not at all. I know.
And again, like I said before, to be fair, a lot of people, look, Jim Sorensen, who was going to, and I'll even mention another two surprise guests too. I'll mention afterwards. Jim Sorensen, he's an Allsparker. And even before that, he's an ATTer. And another surprise, Rick Alvarez from Fun Publications came to hang out.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the thing. It's like,
Publications of BotCon. Rick Alvarez was there,
yeah.
and he
Well,
took
see,
a
that's the
photo.
thing. It's
Yep,
like, okay, I've
he's an
I've known
all-star.
different people. I've known different people that have gone to BotCon since 2009. I've known a few people that have gone 2009, 2010, and 2011, and I've known people that have gone this year as well. The last 3 years, 2009 to 2011, everyone that I had talked to, or everyone that I had seen, or all my friends that had gone to it, had said it was they each were all good conventions for different reasons. A lot of people say 2011 was the best at that
Yeah,
point in
I agree.
time, and I can agree with them. But since I've known you, since I've known Techno, since I've known Pia, since I've known everybody else, TFCon is the fan convention. BotCon, as you said, is very segregated. BotCon does. BotCon obviously is a fan convention, and you have all these different people meeting up, but at the same time, for those of us who might be going there for the first time, it's like, I don't want to talk to you. I want to go get in line for Peter Collins' autograph, or I want to go get in line.
And that's the
very
thing with-
difficult to break the ice there.
That's the
I
thing
found.
with TFCon, because being a newcomer to it, everybody in line was willing to talk to you. Everybody you're sitting next to is willing to talk to you. Just it didn't matter. You were just talking about
It's a very chillax environment. Everyone is super friendly. Like, it's a shame you didn't get to stick around for the bar, Steve. Like, you'll see, like, it's just this giant cornucopia of people gathered together for the love of the same thing, and it's all in good, clean fun, and it's just not. And having Scotty at the bar, and having Wally Burr at the bar, Derek Wyatt and Josh Perez sitting at the bar drawing doodles of everyone and handing them out. Like, it was so fun. Like, you can't manufacture an experience like that we have at our show, and that's something that's unbelievable. And like I said, all you had to do, the evidence was just that weekend and the days after it. Just sit on Twitter and look at all those tweets. Follow Gog Dog. Follow General Techno. Follow Cheers Ian. All the guys that were tweeting photos constantly, and PR, constantly tweeting photos and posting stream videos of stuff that's happening in that moment and tweet vids. You'll see, like, just the craziness that was going on that weekend was absolutely, like, unmeasurable, unequal, and the beauty is, and this was the best part, which was Vangelis did a live recording of WTF that weekend, and he proposed the question to the audience: how many people here is their first time? And a lot of people raised their hand. And I would say, honestly, of that crowd, it was about 50% of the crowd raised their hand. It was their first time doing it. And then on top of that, and this was the shocker to me, how many of you people are Americans? And about 50% of the audience raised their hand. And that was good, because for the longest time, TFCon, back before the movies, I would say, like, post-2007, TFCon really was a Canadian Transformers convention.
Yeah.
This year, we became an international Transformer convention. This year, we had people from the UK, Australia, Israel, tons and tons of Americans. It was unbelievable, the amount of Americans that came this year. It was such a pleasure to be with all these people, to have them come down and to shake hands and to share ideas and to just have a good time. It was so amazing. I'm so proud to be of this part of this show, and everything that we accomplish and that we do, and all the little things that we create together, and the guests. And Dan Kahana and Josh Perez said it the best, where it's not, because usually both of them, they went to BotCon and they were artists, and they, both of them were like, it's nice to be an artist and feel like, you're like a guest of honor, because we treat all our guests like gold. We treat all of them great. We give them their tables, and we constantly send staff or volunteers to them, ask them if they're hungry or if they need something. Like, it's such a great show. And anyone who ever, and this is again, whoever's listening, if they're going to do TFCon next year, get every day. Do the Friday, do the Saturday, do the Sunday, leave that Monday morning, because you're going to have an experience that is going to make you never want to do BotCon ever again. Because
I plan to.
Have you ever done one before?
No, this was
there you
Steve's
go.
first
So
convention.
you'll be able to compare. That's just it. But the thing is, like, there's people like Pia and Vangelis and Gog Dog and Aaron and so many people that have done BotCons and then they've done TFCons and they almost don't want to do BotCons anymore because it's just unbelievable, like the turnout and how much of a good time people had and the tears of joy and the laughter, and it's just there's not enough YouTube footage online that could sum up what we did this weekend.
That's just fucking awesome. So I know, because I know you guys don't plan until obviously next year, but do you have any teasers for us for next year? Not like anything big, but
if I had to say a teaser, if I had to say one,
yeah,
we have a really good relationship with iGear right now.
Okay.
Party guys. And again, no confirmation, but if I had any influence, we're going to see a lot more of them in the future in terms of exclusives. But that's just me. But it's a possibility.
Any final thoughts, Steve?
I definitely plan to return. I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed meeting up with people that I know online. Yes. Yes, I definitely plan to next time.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Maybe 2014 could be some shattering of some dark glass. You never know.
That would be cool.
If they, if the animators get their asses in gear. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else you guys want to bring up? Anything you want to pimp out, Proto Man?
Just check out my Twitter for the latest information at ProtomanX, at ProtomanX. That's about it. Aside from that, I guess if I had to mention, if you're in the Toronto area in November, there's going to be the Action Figure Expo, it's run by the same guys who run TFCon.
Mm-hmm.
We're just running a small show of action figure-based stuff. And if you're in the Montreal area, there's going to be the Montreal Comic-Con, which is September 14th to the 16th, and we have, William Shatner and a whole bunch of guests. Just check that out at MontrealComicCon.com.
Cool.
So, yeah.
All right, so that's going to do it for this episode of ToyCast. There's only 5 episodes left of the show. We're closing out at episode 100. The next 2 episodes, 95 and 96, is going to be a 2-parter with David Duvall from ToyWorldOrder.com. It'll be out in the next couple weeks, so we will see you then.
Scanners.
Nothing up there. Nothing. Oh, man. This is getting weirder and weirder. Oh, man. That ship wasn't built. It was poured.
Die-cast construction. It's a lost art.
No, not fair. Why is we need minding our own business when bang! Gets whole stasis pod right up the kazootie.
Yo, string butt! Got a pair of belly bombs here with your name right on them. Eat 'em and wait.
Aloha, everybody! Wow. Well, that concludes our panel. Thank you, everyone, for coming in. So we're always outside trying to get those cars to transform. It's hard. Super hard. Just saying. Oh, this is not like the real world at all. Could you stand up, please? Rise, Planter. In love. That's unbelievable. You don't see anybody in a giant rat suit out there anywhere. I know. Shut up, Red Chuck. Hi, everyone. My name is Scott, and I'm an... Wrong meeting. Oh, look, they have cue cards. This is like karaoke. You are the wind beneath my wings. Hello, everybody. You're so pretty. I'm going to turn this into a rampant Q&A because I, like most things in my wonderful little ADD world, have nothing. Ooh, shiny. What? Prepare. So if you guys have questions, do not hesitate to throw your arms blithely into the... I mean, don't actually throw your arm into the air because that would hurt probably like hell. And then they have to come and get the arms off the ceiling with sticks. Just weird. Is that a camera? It's staring at me. Okay. Point to self. Never try to outstare a camera. They don't blink at all. If it did, I would be weirded out. I was like, dude, I just totally beat a camera and staring.
We have moved the microphone over here so you can all bask in his glory. So if you have a question, come on up. I've been informed that no question is too stupid. No question is too interesting. But remember, there are children.
I want you to close the doors now and pump in the interesting gas. Soon you will all feel very relaxed.
All feel interesting. Your first question isn't really a question. It's, will you accept this offering?
Offering. All bells for you. Is it a puppy? Ooh, it's a clock. It's ticking. Ooh, sugar. The ultimate Dorito experience. Homemade cupcakes. They're so beautiful. I'm going to eat one. If only I had spray cheese. Don't. I lived through that horror once a year. That's enough, believe me. Oh my god, that's good. What's the white thing in the middle? And how come it's moving? Well, that's going to keep me moving all day. Not in a bran muffin, anyway. I did mention the ADD, right? ADOS, attention deficit. Ooh, Sharon. Come on, you've heard that before. Yes.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
We meet again because you probably don't remember this, but like 7-8 years ago, it was my very first day in Unity North, and I ended up pointing a triple barrel giant golden BMG at you.
Yes, I still have the bruise.
And finally, after all those years, I finally have a question. I figured it out.
All right.
What is the strangest role you've ever been cast as? And if it's not your role from The Ultimate Teacher, I'll be very surprised.
What was Ultimate Teacher?
It was the one where you played some teacher who turns out to be, a spoiler alert, is a mutated cockroach turned into a human who's been sent to some delinquent school to try and set everyone straight and ended up having a fight with some teenage girl.
I think you just answered your own question.
I just wanted to confirm that.
That's up there in the weird. Thank you. Did you put ready food coloring in it? They can't even tell this is gin. I played some weird ones. I mean, the very first anime I ever did, I played not one, not two, but 3 different women. I did a show called Sushi Pack where I played a small, tiny little blob of crime-fighting wasabi who never spoke. That was my job. That's why I went to theater school. That's why I studied Ibsen, Shakespeare, Molière, them all. Red can't stop staring at green bug. Interesting indeed.
Yes, okay, let's do this. Well known, you did like half the cast of Beast Wars. And
when you say I did half the cast,
are you seeing me or telling me?
I'm just making sure we're all on the same page.
You voiced half the cast.
Yes, thank you.
And not only did a lot of these characters have to interact with each other, which is, hard enough, a lot of them were openly antagonistic to each other, and I'm wondering what the hell that was like.
Welcome to the inside of my head.
Daily occurrence, innocent fun. One more crack like that and I will take you out the old-fashioned way.
Brutally, you would like to see you try it there, Dino Boob. or should I say Elizabeth? Oh boy, we're all gonna die.
No, I'm fighting, get your ass beneath your head. Oh, my.
Until, of course, Silverbolt, strong, proud, brave, and you've probably all heard me say this before, smart like a bag of hammers. Yeah. That's the inside of my head, and that's just a few of them. That's the beauty of being a cartoon guy. I get to take the voices from the inside and put them on the outside. You think about it, I spend most of my day in small padded rooms screaming. I get paid for it! Yes!
Hi.
Hi!
First off, you're awesome.
Oh, you're awesome!
Okay, so my question is, how do you get your inspiration for all the characters that you voice?
I drink. They come from all sorts of weird places. Susan Blue, who, well, you guys would know, so she was RC, and she directed all of Beast Wars, and there's Wally. She's one of my two favorite directors ever, and she taught me something when I first started working with her, like 25 years ago, about just any sound and I'm not so much talking about creating characters, but just coming up with places where voices live. And just like, you know, if you're closing your car door and you hear this strange squeak and you suddenly go, that's right, Waspinator started off as a squeak. Particular to Beast Wars, Doug Parker, who played Pterosaur, who was also the one responsible for casting the show. You know, everybody went in and auditioned for everybody. And, you know, all bad guys are all, I'm a huge bad guy, and all good guys are good guys. And Doug went, like, when I got up to Waspinator, he went, you know, do your Bubble voice. And I went, what? I mean, you may have heard the story before, but, you know, so I got a character that was you know, oh, I went to prison. And I go, yeah, but the dude's a bad guy. He's like, yeah, good point. And he's a runner, so, you know. And then as we started to do it and realized what an idiot he was, and the writers went, this is awesome, he's an idiot. So is the character. Dinobot was, I had the privilege, under the tutelage of Wally Burr, of playing Cobra Commander.
Don't screw it up.